Hello viewers, welcome once again to Intervlog. Today, we turn our lens to the island nation of Madagascar, where events have taken a dramatic turn. The country's president, André Ndremanjary, is said to have fled the country, reportedly on a French military aircraft, after parts of the army joined youth-led protests demanding his resignation. The air in Antananarivo, the capital, is heavy. The streets are filled with chants, flags, and uncertainty. A leader who once rose to power through the support of soldiers has now lost the loyalty of those same forces. As one Malagasy proverb says, "Ni todi tsi misifa ni atao no miverina." There is no such thing as fate. What you do comes back to you. Over the past weeks, Madagascar has been shaken by unrest. Protests that began over water and electricity shortages have transformed into a national uprising against poverty, corruption, and political exclusion. It all started on the 25th of September, when angry residents of Antananarivo took to the streets, frustrated by blackouts and lack of clean water. But what began as an outcry over daily hardships quickly grew into something larger, a cry for change, led by a new generation calling themselves Gen Z Madagascar. These young people, inspired by movements in Nepal and Sri Lanka, carried banners reading, "Enough is enough, and we deserve a future." Their voices echoed across the Indian Ocean island, from the congested neighborhoods of the capital to the rural heartlands where poverty bites deep. Soon, trade unions, civic groups, and teachers joined the chorus. The demonstrations swelled, defying curfews and security warnings. According to the United Nations, at least 22 people have been since the protests began, and many more injured. Intervlog observes that this is not just about outages or shortages, it's about dignity, justice, and accountability. For weeks, the protests rumbled, but on Saturday, something changed. Soldiers from the elite CAPSAT unit, the very force that helped André Ndremanjary seize power in 2009, joined the demonstrators. The symbolism was powerful. CAPSAT, once his backbone, had become his opposition. By Sunday, they had gone further. CAPSAT declared that it had taken control of all the armed forces. Their commander, Colonel Michael Randrianarina, stood before the cameras at military headquarters and said, "We have responded to the people's calls." He denied that it was a coup, but the message was unmistakable. The army was no longer standing by the president. As another Malagasy proverb warns, "Ni lohani manantona, ni ransan tanani manilika," when the head leans, the fingers point away. In moments of crisis, even loyal hands withdraw. Then came the twist that gripped the nation and the continent alike. On Sunday, reports emerged that President André Ndremanjary had fled Madagascar. According to Reuters, he left aboard a French military plane, his exact destination unknown, though opposition figures and military sources say France. The opposition leader, Sitini Randrianasalonaiko, told reporters, "We called the staff of the presidency, and they confirmed he left the country." That confirmation, though still unaccompanied by any official statement from Ndremanjary's office, sent shockwaves through Madagascar's political establishment. By Monday, the Senate announced that Jean André Ndremanjary would assume presidential duties temporarily. The Constitution provides that in the absence of a president, the head of the Senate takes charge until new elections are held. For the people of Madagascar, this was both a relief and a reckoning. A president had fled. Power had shifted, not through ballots, but through street chants and soldiers' boots. Ndremanjary's reported flight to France has stirred sensitive memories. Madagascar, once a French colony, has long had a complicated relationship with its former colonial power. André Ndremanjary himself holds French citizenship, a fact that has often sparked discontent among Malagasy citizens who see it as a symbol of divided loyalty. French radio station RFI reported that Ndremanjary may have struck a deal with President Emmanuel Macron before his departure. But France's foreign ministry has denied any intervention, saying it fully respects Madagascar's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Yet questions remain. Why a French military plane? What was agreed behind closed doors? And can a president who fled on a foreign aircraft ever return to claim legitimacy? As an old Malagasy saying goes, Ni tani ni aviana tsi adino, fani fiveranana no sarotra. One never forgets their homeland, but returning is the hardest part. Number 2. For Rajoelina, the road back to power, if there is one, may now be nearly impossible. At the heart of this crisis lies the pain of Madagascar's youth. Nearly 3/4 of the population lives in poverty. Access to education, healthcare, and stable employment remains out of reach for millions. When young people feel invisible, they often make themselves seen. And that is what Gen Z Madagascar has done. They are connected, vocal, and determined. Social media became their mobilization tool, their megaphone to the world. One protester was quoted saying, "We are not against our country. We are against hunger and lies." It is a sentiment that resonates across many African nations, where rising youth populations demand more than survival. They demand purpose and progress. As Intervlog often reminds its viewers, when the youth rise, the mountain listens. André Rajoelina's journey in politics has always been marked by controversy. He was just 34 years old when he first seized power during the 2009 coup, supported by Capsat. He later returned to office through elections, presenting himself as a modernizer and a voice for the young. But over time, allegations of corruption, nepotism, and authoritarianism eroded his image. Now, with parts of the army turning against him, with the Senate declaring his seat vacant, and with his physical absence from the country, it becomes increasingly difficult to see how he can continue as president. As Intervlog would say, a leader who flees from his people leaves behind not an office, but a shadow. Even if Rajoelina were to speak from abroad, his authority at home appears shattered. Leadership, after all, is not just about holding a title. It is about standing where your people stand, especially when the storm comes. The African Union has urged calm, calling on all parties, both civilian and military, to exercise restraint. The United States Embassy in Madagascar has advised its citizens to shelter in place, describing the situation as highly volatile and unpredictable. No major international power has yet recognized any change of government, though the Senate's announcement of an interim leader has added formal weight to the transition. The United Nations has expressed concern about the loss of life and called for dialogue to restore stability. For Madagascar's neighbors, the events serve as a reminder that social and political fragility can quickly escalate when public frustration meets economic hardship. So what happens now? Can André Rajoelina still call himself president while in exile, possibly in France? The Constitution may still carry his name, but in the eyes of many Malagasy people, legitimacy is earned on the ground, not on paper. History has shown that when a leader flees during upheaval, it is often the beginning of the end. From Haiti to Sudan, from Afghanistan to Tunisia, exile rarely ends in restoration. Intervlog reflects, you cannot plant a tree and water it from another land. Governance, like a tree, needs roots, and those roots must be in the soil of the nation one leads. Madagascar now stands at a crossroads. The protesters, the military, and the political class must decide the country's next chapter. Will this lead to fresh elections? Will power shift peacefully, or will further chaos unfold? The symbolism of Gen Z leading the uprising cannot be ignored. A generation once dismissed as apolitical has become the architect of change. The same youths who face unemployment and hardship are now defining the political moment of their nation. If managed carefully, this could mark a turning point, where young people transform frustration into constructive leadership. If mishandled, however, it could deepen divisions and instability. Interestingly, throughout this turmoil, President Rajoelina's office has remained silent. There has been no video address, no official confirmation of his location, no explanation. The silence itself has become a statement, one that speaks of confusion, fear, or perhaps calculation. He was reportedly scheduled to address the nation on state television at 7 p.m. Monday, but the broadcast never happened. Instead, as the clock ticked, the streets filled again. This time not in anticipation of his words, but in rejection of his absence. As one protester told local media, "We waited for our president to speak, but he left instead." That single sentence captures the emotional rupture between Rajoelina and his people. Intervlog believes Madagascar's unfolding story offers lessons far beyond its shores. First, it reminds us that no government can survive indefinitely without trust. Economic hardship may test patience, but corruption and silence break it. Second, it highlights the power of youth, a demographic that no longer waits for invitations to politics. And third, it underscores that foreign ties, while valuable, can become political traps. For Rajolina, his French connection, once a symbol of cosmopolitan reach, may now appear as a symbol of abandonment. In the African political imagination, fleeing to a former colonial power carries heavy symbolism. It raises questions of loyalty and independence. As of now, Madagascar's Jean André Ndremanjary serves as interim president, while the nation awaits the next steps, possibly fresh elections or negotiations between the military and civilian leaders. The protesters continue to demand deeper reforms, transparency, youth employment, and an end to political manipulation. The army, while divided, appears cautious, insisting it has not carried out a coup, but only responded to the people's will. What remains uncertain is how the international community will engage, and whether Andry Rajoelina will ever return. At this point, allow Intervlog to share a parable, one that captures the spirit of what Madagascar is experiencing today. A man built his house near the sea. Each day he admired its beauty, but ignored the cracks in the walls. One night, a storm came. The water entered through those small cracks, and by morning, the house had fallen. When asked why, the man said, "I didn't think the storm would come so soon." For years, the cracks in Madagascar's governance were visible. Poverty, inequality, mistrust. The storm has now arrived and the house is shaking. When a leader flees, it is not only a geographical act, it is a political statement. It tells the people, I no longer control the ground beneath my feet. Fleeing to France, a country with colonial ties and deep historical complexities, makes the symbolism even more potent. In politics, perception is everything. And perception now paints Andry Rajoelina not as a sitting president, but as a leader in exile. He may still hold the title President of Madagascar on paper, but as Intervlog notes, a throne without the people's heartbeat is an empty chair. As the island navigates this uncertain moment, its people are showing remarkable resilience. Markets reopen each morning, children go to school, and life, though tense, continues. Madagascar has weathered many storms, coups, cyclones, and crises. It may yet emerge stronger from this one, but healing will require inclusion. It will require that the youth who raise their voices be heard not as rebels, but as partners in shaping the nation's destiny. Leadership is not only about power, it is about presence. To lead is to stand with your people, not above them, and certainly not far away in another land. If the reports are true, and President Andry Rajoelina has indeed flown to France, then the question is not only whether he will return, but whether his people will want him back. As the Malagasy proverb goes, "Tsimanangkavana tahakani tanindrazana." There is no kin like one's homeland, and for every leader, that truth should never be forgotten. This has been Intervlog, your lens on the heartbeat of nations. From Antananarivo's crowded avenues to the quiet offices of power, we continue to observe, analyze, and reflect, always with neutrality, always with respect for truth. Stay tuned, stay thoughtful, and as we often say here on Intervlog, when the drums of the people sound, even the palace walls must listen. This is the end of our program today. See you on Intervlog, same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you for watching Intervlog. Thank you.